Hi everybody, it's Erin from ePapere. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do some work on my Boho floral journal. I want to do some work to cover the cover and do some decorative work, so we're going to see how this goes. Again, as a reminder, this is a cover and binding style that I have not worked with before, but I just kind of made it up as I went along. And I will link that video down in the description and how I put this all together if you're curious about that. But what I'd like to do today is take some of this beautiful fabric that I purchased for this and get this covered. And then this is the accent fabric. This is thrifted. This I bought at a quilt shop, and do some cool stuff. I would also like to put some pockets on the inner covers. That's kind of a thing that I like to do. And I think I'll be playing with some book corners and, you know, different things like that. So let's just see how it goes. I will definitely be putting you guys on kind of speed view, and I'll go ahead and do a voiceover for you later or put some captions in describing the process as I go. But here's the strategy I'm going in with. I'm going to cut a strip of this fabric to cover the spine and, you know, get it about like a good 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches over the spine on both the front and the back covers. And then what I'd like to do is create a panel out of some additional cardstock or chipboard and cover those panels in the main fabric, sew around the edges and adhere those to the front. I may decide to make that a pocket one way or the other. I think I probably will, just because I always like adding extra pockets where I can. And then I will make the pockets for the interior in the same manner, where I cut a piece of, you know, one or more pieces of cardstock, cover them with fabric, sew them, and then adhere them into the cover. So that's the process I'm using. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my music on here in the studio. You guys grab a beverage and stay tuned. Okay, here we go. I am just taking some quick measurements on my work pad so that I know how thick I need to tear this strip of fabric. And yes, I am tearing this to size. I like a little bit of fringy edge, and tearing makes sure that I am getting that edge nice and straight, because this is an even weave fabric and it'll do that. So I am just making it wide enough so that I make sure I cover all the space I want on the spine. And then when it comes to taking the length, I'm going to make sure I get the most interesting part, that bit with lots of yellow and stuff in it. So I'm going to just take like a little pinch off the end here and then measure it to size, so I get all of the fun tie-dyed parts on there. So, and then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and just get the edges that are going to be at the top and the bottom. I'm using some glue stick just to help me get it onto its place. And then I'm using hot glue to get it adhered, you know, more permanently into place. I'm not actually gluing it to the spine itself, like all of the spines, just kind of the first and the last spine, to make sure that it's adhered, but I don't want to impact the flexibility of the spine in any way. So that fabric is just sort of floating over the top of the spines. Some more glue stick and some more hot glue just to kind of get that into place. And now what I'm doing is taking some measurements of the remaining front and back cover so that I know what size I need to make my panels. I'm going to do that out of manila folder, and these are recycled or reused. So I'm just going to cut 2 panels to size. going to take most of the folder, unfortunately, but I'm not a very efficient cutter. Like, I'm sure I could have figured out how to cut that so that I had less scrap, but I always end up making cards and stuff out of those offcuts anyway. So now I'm just making sure that these fit the way I want them to over the cover and make sure that they're cut straight and all that good stuff. And now I'm going to cut a little divot in the center of one side of those because these are going to be pockets. There we go, little divot. And I want the pocket opening to be at the spine. So I am marking these so that I know which side to glue on and which side of the cover these go on. Because the fabric is directional and the panels are directional. So I just need to be careful that I don't lose track of where I'm at. So it's never a shame to, give yourself some hints and mark. Here I am just putting this onto the fabric with some glue stick. I don't need crazy, adhesive glue because I'm going to sew around these. So I just need it to stick in place long enough and to stay straight so that I can get it to the sewing machine. I'm going to glue down the corners and make sure it kind of stays on there really good. And then what I'm doing is making just really clean cuts around the edges with my fabric scissors because I'm not folding them over the edges. I'm reducing bulk by making that a nice clean cut. I'm going to make some snips through that divot and then use some glitter glue to glue those little snippies down, and so that's a nice clean finish on that divots, just making sure the fabric is nice and smooth. Same thing with the second panel. Make sure I'm gluing on the correct side of it and placing it on the fabric. Using my smoother here, make sure we've got all the bubbles and the wrinkles out. I do a rough cut around the edges before I do the final cut, just because it's easier to do that, really clean cut once you have all that bulk of fabric away from the panel. And I know I'm working really close to the chest here and it's hard for you to see what I'm cutting, but that's just for my own vision. I want to make sure I'm getting that just really nice and clean to the sides of that manila cardstock. So here's my little snips for the divot and glue those down. And for a lightweight fabric like this, art glitter glue really does the trick just fine. There, we've been to the sewing machine. I have sewn the panels. So now it's time to place them. I'm making sure that I've got them placed correctly and on the correct side. One's for the back and one's specifically for the front. And now it's time to get them adhered into place. So here I am taking out my Fabri-Tac glue because this one is just like a nice strong adhesive. I could have done hot glue, but I felt like by the time I got all the way around the pocket, like the glue would have been dry or cooled down from where I started. So that's why I chose Fabri-Tac. It gives me just a little bit longer working time. So I'm going to let that set up while I do the other panel. Just get it right around the edge there. And get that nicely aligned, and there we go. So now I know I want to just add a little bit more security to these pockets. So I'm going to take some brads and I'm going to pick out some small size bronze or kind of, dark brown oil, like an oil rubbed bronze finished brad. They're pretty tiny. And I'm going to put those in the corners at the spine where the divot is, just to add a little bit of extra security at the corner so that pocket doesn't come away. So just taking my awl and poking the hole through both layers of card. I got one of them a little close to the edge, so I'm just taking the scissors and snipping that little piece off. Once I get to doing the inside and final kind of decoration stuff, I'll probably cover these with washi tape or fabric or something like that on the back side so that we don't see those little tails or get snagged on them or anything. But and then I'm taking out some decorative book corners. I'm going to choose the copper color because I think that just goes really nicely, and do that on the outside corners of each of the covers, and that will secure the other side of the pocket. So this, I'm going to tell you a little secret. This is my first time working with with book corners, sorry. And I struggled a little bit with this first one. I didn't get it on completely straight. So I took an awl and carefully uncrimped the book corner and just straightened it back out and crimped it back down, and it worked out just fine. So I learned my lesson on how best to apply these and just to make sure that they're very, very straight before I start crimping. And then then it was pretty much a breeze, and I love the look that it added to this cover. I think it turned out really cool. So just a quick little crimpy crimp. There we go. So this is the front of the cover, and I want to put a little book plate on here that says journal. So I'm taking out a large bronze book plate, and I've got a piece of scrap paper that's actually from the Boho Florals digital, and then one of our hand slow stitched words from the shop. So you can actually buy those little slow stitch words in the shop if you're interested. But I just chose one that says journal. And it's going to be smaller, which is why I used the background paper. I hot glued the background paper into the book plate, and then I will adhere the journal onto the front. And now what I need to do is create some little spacer pieces of cardstock to just fill in the remaining space behind the book plate so that we end up with more of a flat surface on the back to actually adhere this, because this is not getting sewn onto. If I would have thought ahead more, I would have adhered this and sewn it on before I adhered the pockets, but I'm not always thinking that far ahead. So just, adding some space here so that I can properly, glue this on good and hard with the hot glue is going to be plenty. But I need to figure out how to fill these little holes. So I pick out a couple of jeweled brads because I think that's going to add just a nice little sparkle to the front of the journal and play really well off of the book plate. So I take those brads and I bend both legs to one side and use some hot glue to adhere those in place so that they don't wiggle around and move on me. So there we go. I'm making sure that I've got the front cover where I want it, and that I've got the book right side up. And then putting the book plate into place. So there we go. For the rest of this now, I'm going to work on placing some pockets in the inner covers, inside of the front, inside of the back, and in all of the kind of sub covers or chapter covers. I don't know what you want to call them. And I decided, instead of covering some more pockets in fabric, that I was going to use the pockets that I recycled from when I tore apart my first junk journal. So these are already made. There's several of them. They look really cool with the antique music and the splotchy paper. I thought they worked really well for this journal. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna take, file through these pockets, and I'm gonna use some pieces from the digital and some book page to collage some extras with them, and I'm gonna do some fun things. So here I've decided I'm gonna use 2 envelopes to make a double pocket. So I'm going to actually just like stack the envelopes together. And I know I am really zoomed in far on this. For this section of video, I forgot to make sure that my phone was properly zoomed out so that you could get my entire workspace. So I'm zoomed in pretty tight here, so you're not going to see me do absolutely everything. And for most of this, the journal is going to be a little bit out of frame. So I apologize for that. I didn't realize that I hadn't set it out to zoom out. This is what happens when you work 8-hour shifts in the studio. You just kind of go on autopilot after a while. So, but you do the rear envelope first, and then you do the front envelope in the front and down a little bit, and then those little flappies kind of overlap, and I thought that looked really cool. Looking for another cover to work with. So I work, auditioning a few things, see what I want to work with. And I start thinking, let's look at some of these pockets that have the painted paper behind them, because I wanted to add some more color. And I super love this paper with that's got all the different colors on it, the purple and the pink and the green and the yellow and white all together. So I picked out a few, both of those triple pockets there. But I knew I needed to add more to the page. So this is where we entered the digitals and the book pages to just kind of make a bit of an arrangement on the page. And what's nice about that is it just kind of adds another touch of the digitals throughout the journal. So I've got that theme and that aesthetic going, but it's not like overtaking the journal. It doesn't look like I just took a kit and put a journal together. So I love those sunflowers. Those were fun to draw. And this little book was one that I got during my huge ephemera haul. And it's teeny tiny, and the cover is pretty well trashed, and the pages are pretty well trashed in it, which is why I loved it, because I tear out those pages and they just look so wonderful and worn, and I love the patina on the pages. So, and they're just like a great size for tearing off, and using whole just to like slap down on a page and create a background. So I think those are going to be great. And I think those are going to be great just to make like ready-made pockets too, because they're just such a great little size. So don't sleep on those teeny tiny little antique books if you can find them, because not only are they a great size to work with in your junk journals, and they usually have great patina because they get worn out because people carried them around with them, because of the small size. But they're also like really inexpensive, much less expensive at an antique bookstore, half price books or whatever, than are the larger volumes of things. So if you're looking for book pages and looking for antique book pages, that's a great place to go, is looking at some of those small travel size books. So I am making a stacked corner pocket here with some of these corners, and I think this is going to end up being kind of a double pocket. So I'm just folding back the corners on these and just kind of trying to figure out the way that these are gonna stack the best. It takes some experimenting sometimes. You just got to move things around and think it through. Like, okay, how would a card go in here? And figuring out like where things need to go. So yes, this ends up being a double pocket. I don't know if I just coined a new term there, a double pocket. You could call it a quadruple pocket, but I call it a double because it's two separate double pockets, and they're just happen to be arranged on the same page. So let's see what we decide for this page. Oh yes, I brought in some of this beautiful, the papers from the digital that have the calla lilies on it. And I loved drawing those too. Those were a lot of fun. Deceptively simple flower, but I wanted to do something with a little bit of flourish to it just to make it look a little bit more Art Nouveau-y, deco-y, since that's the style I like to work in. So yeah, they were fun. They were fun. And then adding some more of that gorgeous pink splotchy painterly paper with a triple pocket. Easy peasy, and that one's done. This one I had a little bit more trouble deciding what I wanted to do with. I just love that little stain at the top of that cover. And I definitely didn't want to cover that up, so I hope I don't think I did, but we'll see. We'll see. So gonna take another one of those corner pockets, fold down the corner. Taking some more calla lily paper. See where we end up putting it. Yep, see, I put it lower on the page so you could still see the stain. Yep, see, some people would be like, oh, no, we have to cover up the stain, and you know, but I'm like, no, we spend so much time putting distress and grunge on stuff. There's natural distress and grunge on it. We don't want to cover that up, so. Going back to the sunflowers, I ended up doing kind of a pattern. The first, you know, one covers sunflowers, the next one's calla lilies, then go back to the sunflowers, and I just kept alternating through the book. So tearing the paper, I leave the white edge. I like it because that, to me, like, I make sure, dang it, that looks like torn paper. I see no problems with that. That lovely torn edge on the pages, book page there is so awesome. And then I put one of those really beautiful painted pockets with all the colors on it. It looks so great. I'm back with my double envelopes now, and I'm thinking, I need to add some paper to here to bring that theme back around. And so I had this little strip left of sunflowers, and so I'm gonna put those at the bottom of the page, and they cover up the flaps of the envelope. So I got to take an X-Acto knife and just cut the envelopes open again, which, hindsight, I should have waited till that glue was fully dry. It would have been a lot easier to cut those open. But you know, live and learn. You get in the moment, you just want to get it done. There's Matt delivering a dreamsicle ice cream treat for me because he's the best man ever. So I'm working now so I can, like, I need my ice cream treat, so I gotta open up these pockets. So, but anyway, we got it done. And it looks good. So there, I got my reward, my ice cream treat, and the journal sits there and dries for just a little bit. And we're at the end of the speed up session. I'll be chiming in soon to wrap up the video. All right, so there is the finished cover finally to this journal. So I have got just a couple work sessions left on this to put a few more little pockets and flip outs and whatnot in it, do some decorating, and then stuff everything, all the ephemera in there. So hopefully next video or two we will finish this little baby up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.